Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 Shruti Sharma.
Hi, my name is Krishnan. I'll be doing the Hindu news analysis for the day. These are the 5 articles that will be discussed, and towards the end we'll analyze previous year questions. So the first article for the day is about India and US reviewing their export control regulations. So what are these exports? We'll see in this article. So why is it in news? Because India and the United States pledged to streamline their export control regimes. So export control regimes, but for what? Critical technologies. Critical technologies means very important, sophisticated technologies. So where they are discussing this is happening for the first time. This is India US strategic trade dialogue. So just keep this in mind, India US strategic trade dialogue. So why is this happening? Because our Prime Minister is going to Washington. There they are going to talk about a lot of high level technology partnerships. So lot of technology, sophisticated technologies they are going to talk about. But the most important of all this is General Electric's GE, that is General Electric's 414 jet engine sales. So this is very important. So what America is going to do, that is the United States of America, it is going to sell this engine to India. Why it is very important, we'll see later. So what senior US officials are telling is, see, we are going to take a very soft stand on India-Russian ties. So they are telling we are not going to pressurize India on Russia. We'll take a very soft stand on India-Russian tie, and they are telling Mr. Modi coming to America at this point of time is very important, because it will help build trust and confidence in the US. And they are telling, see, this is very important. They are telling India and US, for US, India is the most important bilateral relationship. This shows how the country's stature has improved over the years. So you see this IUSSTD, where and all they will be focusing. So it is for the development of trade of technologies in critical domains. So as I told you before, these are technologies, not just ordinary technologies, very sophisticated technologies like semiconductors, space, telecom, quantum, artificial engineering, defense and biotechnology. Next, are these enough? No, they are telling no, this is not enough. What else we want is, we want to diversify resilient supply chains for these strategic technologies. So why they are telling they should have resilient supply chains? Because you see semiconductors and all, you need a lot of rare elements, right? But if you are dependent on China, what will happen? If there is any problem, China won't supply raw material, or if there is a pandemic like COVID-19, what will happen? You will not get supply chains. So they are telling we need to diversify supply chains, and how the supply chain should be, they should be resilient. So this is what they are telling in this change in stance. So this is very important. See what US initially said. It said no, Russia and India can't be very close, because Russia has invaded Ukraine, and India being a democratic country, it should oppose it. But India did not listen to it at all. So what did US tell India? US told India should reduce its military ties with Russia. Next it told it should forego Russian oil, and then it said it should vote along with Western countries at the UN for the sanction of Russia. And the most important thing is, India did not accept any of these 3 things. So finally US relented. They said okay fine, if you are not going to listen all these things, it doesn't matter. So they are telling we'll be prepared to meet and talk you about these things, because you have not joined the sanctions. We don't want to debate on these things, we just meet and talk over it. So US has come to that level. So next, what who is Mr. Sullivan? He is the National Security Advisor of US. He is telling, see, even though India has not joined the sanctions, but he is telling US-India partnership has never been this stronger. He is telling US-India partnership is at the strongest levels right now. At what level? In terms of technology, defense, cooperation and people to people ties, he is telling India and US relationship are at the topmost level. Next we will see about this General Electric's F414 engine. So what is this deal about? It will facilitate HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, that is government's HAL, with American firm General Electric. So this is a very famous firm. What they will do, they are going to manufacture indigenous jet engines. These engines are for what? For fighter aircraft. And what will happen? Eventually they'll be used on Indian military ships. So what is most important is they are not just selling these engines, there is going to be transfer of technology also. So that is what is most important thing. So what happened few years back, India's NSA and US NSA, they spoke on these things, and India's NSA made sure that India will not just be buying this engine, but there will be transfer of technology also. So where did they talk about these things? It is called Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technologies. So what is happening? Transfer of technology is happening. So what they are telling, their plan is to manufacture GE F414 engine. So in 2010 itself, India asked this engine to power the Mark II version of LCA Tejas. So LCA Tejas is light combat aircraft Tejas. So currently it is using the General Electric's F404 engine, but now they are going to change to F414 engine. So in 2010 itself they asked. In 2019 only US relented because they had very strict laws when it came to export regimes. So in 2019 the talks became very serious, and now they have agreed to transfer of technology. So how this is going to happen? Once the production starts in India, so this F414 will power all future fighter jets including Tejas Mk2, advanced medium combat aircraft, as well as the indigenous twin engine deck based fighter which will be used for the Indian Navy. So what you should know about the F414 is it is an afterburning turbofan engine which weighs close to 22,000 pounds, and it is the 98 kN thrust class of engines. So in the US what they are using it for? They are using it for the Boeing Super Hornets and the Gripen fighter jets. So what is the most important thing is there is 100% transfer of technology to India. So what will this lead to? This will lead to future joint design, development and manufacture of more powerful engines. So this is why this dialogue is important, and soon Modi is going to, our PM is going to Washington, and we will have more news on this. Now let us move on to the next article. This article is about the central government deciding to give for paddy, that is for rice which is sown in the Kharif season, 2,183 rupees per quintal. That is from previous year it has been increased to 143 rupees increase is there from last year. So here we have to, if you are a newcomer, here you will have to know certain terms. So what are they? First you should know what is the minimum support price. Next you should know what is the Kharif for the monsoon season and what this price is all about. So in this article we will discuss all these things fully. So for this 2023 to 2024 season, what is the minimum support price? So minimum support price for 17 Kharif crops. Where were they approved? They were approved at a meeting by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs headed by the Prime Minister. So in polity you might have studied there are different committees, right? Few committees are not headed by Prime Minister. So go to your polity book, open it and find which committee is not headed by the Prime Minister. So this Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, it is chaired by the Prime Minister, and 17 Kharif crops and different variants of it. For that the government is supposed to give MSP. And what is the MSP for paddy? It is rupees 2,183 rupees per quintal, which is a hike of 143 rupees. And what you should know, the sowing of crops, mainly paddy, has started in most states because paddy is a Kharif crop. So what the center is telling, its aim is to ensure reasonably fair remuneration for farmers and to encourage crop diversification. What is crop diversification? See, farmers should not keep planting rice itself, right? They should diversify, they should grow different types of crops. So that is called diversification. And the state government central government is telling they will give fair remuneration. So these two things they are telling, but what several farmers organizations are telling is this increase is not tuned with the rising input cost. So we are putting in a lot of money that is increasing every year, but what you are giving us is not in tune with the rising input cost, like that farmers are complaining. So but what the food minister is telling this is the highest increase, like that he is telling. Food minister is telling, see, farmers will benefit from the increase in MSP because see there is retail inflation is declining. So what do you mean by retail inflation is declining? When I go and buy rice from the supermarket near me, the price has come down, food inflation has come down. So what will happen? Farmers also will get less money, right, from people who are buying wholesale from them. So what the food minister is telling is, see, retail inflation is declining, but see, we will not let this affect farmers because we are giving increased MSP. Like that the food minister is telling. So next what is telling? Is telling we have been fixing MSP based on the recommendation of Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices. So we'll see what is this also. Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices means they'll only will do a lot of research until this amount should be given for the farmer per quintal. In the subsequent slides, we'll see what CACAP is. So next what is telling, this increase in MSP for the Kharif crops this year is the highest compared to the previous year. And is next what is telling, we are giving MSP not just for paddy, we are giving new MSPs for pulses also. See, we already talked about diversification, right? So he's telling we will give MSP for pulses also. So the MSP for moong is rupees 8,558 per quintal. How much of an increase is this? It is 803 rupees increase is there. So he's telling this is one of the highest increases among Kharif crops. For tur, what has happened? It has been set at 7,000 per quintal. So this is 58% above the cost of production. So they are telling we are doing all these good things for farmers. So why they are doing this? They are telling what is the center's promise. The center told whatever MSP we will keep it at 1.5 times the average cost of production. So for example, if a farmer is spending 100 rupees for producing crop, you should get 150 rupees. So that is what 1.5 times the average cost of production. So the government is telling we are giving so much of money in MSP because we want to fulfill our promise of 1.5 times the all India weighted average cost of production. So next we'll see what are the other amount that has been given to other crops. So for bajra it is 82%. So this is the highest. For bajra it is 82%. That is, if the farmer spent 100 rupees on bajra, he will get 182 rupees in return. So that is 82%. Then for tur it is 58, for soybean is 52, and for urad it is 51. For the rest of the crops, the margin to farmers over their cost of production is estimated to be at least 50%. So this also we saw. So for grade A variety of paddy, how much? Earlier it was 2060, now it is rupees 2203. For jowar hybrid and jowar maldandi, it is earlier it was 3180, now it will be 3225 per quintal. So for other things it was last year 2970 and now it has been increased to 2990. For maize there is 128 rupees increase per quintal and its rate will be 2090. For ragi, how much it will be? It will be rupees 3846 per quintal, which has been increased by rupees 268. So among the oilseeds, sesamum is priced at rupees 8635 per quintal, rupees 6377 for groundnut and rupees 4600 for soyabean. So Niger seed, so just keep this in mind, this was there in prelims this time. So in the case of Niger seed, the new MSP is rupees 7734 per quintal, and for sunflower seed it is rupees 6760. And for cotton, long stable cotton and medium stable cotton, the MSPs are fixed at rupees 7020 and rupees 6620 per quintal. So these are the rates that have been fixed. You don't have to memorize, but just keep in mind what are the crops that are in the MSP basket. But what farmers are telling, they are not satisfied, they are complaining. So what they are telling, the Samyukt Kisan Morcha, so it is a platform of 500 farm outfits together. They are telling no, central government is lying. The new MSPs that the government has announced, it is not linked to the real expenses of farming, like that the Kisan Morcha is telling. So their senior leader is telling the MSP for Kharif crops is nowhere near the C2 plus 50%. So just keep this in mind, C2 plus 50%. So we'll see what C2 plus 50 is. So who proposed this C2 plus 50 formula? It was proposed by the Swaminathan Commission. So which Swaminathan? MS Swaminathan, who was the father of Green Revolution in India. So next what he is telling is, production estimates given by the government is faulty and underrated. So when the estimates are faulty, he is telling MSP figures also unsatisfactory. So whatever money the government is giving, it is unsatisfactory, like that the farmer leader is telling. Senior farm leader, what he is telling, the center did not take into account the increase in irrigation cost. So what is irrigation cost? Digging well or using hose pipe to bring water, all these things are irrigation cost. And fertilizer cost also increased. Is telling the government has not taken into account all these things. So next what is telling, so finally is telling the government has betrayed us by announcing MSP far below the C2 plus 50%, which MS Swaminathan Commission recommended. Next what is telling, there was a report by CACAP, which is a report on price policy of Kharif crops for 2023-2024. So it's telling the government has not released this document also. It has not lived by the document recommendation, like that the farm leader is telling. So this is what the news is about. So whatever terms we came across in this article, we'll see all these things. So first, if you are a newcomer, if you are new to UPSC, you should know what is Kharif season. So what is Kharif season? So crops that are sown from June to July. So just before monsoon, they'll be sown, and after it rains, they'll have water. So harvesting will happen in September to October. So these are Kharif crops. So what are the crops that are grown in the Kharif season? Rice, maize, jowar, bajra, tur, moong, urad, cotton, jute, groundnut, soybean. So you should know what are the crops, because they have asked these questions previously. So what are the states that will do this? Assam, West Bengal, coastal regions of Odisha, Andhra, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra. So all these states will go for Kharif season sowing in June. Next, what is MSP? So MSP is the rate at which the government will purchase crops, that is paddy or maize or jowar, from the farmer, and it is based on the calculation of CACP. But how they will do the calculation? It should be at least 1.5 times the cost of production incurred by the farmers. So that you know what is 1.5 times? 1.5 times more than what the farmers incurred. So if simply put, MSP is a minimum price for any crop that the government considers as remunerative for farmers and hence deserving of support. So this is what MSP is about. I hope you understood this. So next, what are the crops under MSP? So the Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices recommends MSP for 22 crops. So 22 crops will have MSP, and fair and remunerative is for sugarcane. So fair and remunerative price, FRP. So the CSCP is an attached office of Ministry of Agriculture. So keep all this in mind. So right now there are 14 crops for Kharif season, 6 rabi crops and 2 other commercial crops. And you see there is MSP for Toria and de-husked coconut. So the MSPs of this are based on the rapeseed and mustard and copra. So how MSP will be recommended by CSCP? So they'll take into account the MSP for a commodity including cost of cultivation. So what else they'll take into account? Supply and demand situation for the commodity, market price trends, both domestic and international, and what is the parity vis-a-vis other crops, and implication for consumers, because if the price of the crops go too high, consumers cannot afford it, and environment, and in terms of trade between agriculture and non-agriculture sectors. So all these things they'll take into account, and then only they'll announce MSP. So this is very, very important. So this is the production cost. So how CSCAP will give MSP? So it is based on 3 things. A2 means this is the paid out cost directly incurred by the farmer in cash and kind on seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, hired labor, leased in hand, fuel, irrigation, etc. This is A2. A2 plus FL means value of unpaid family labor. So and then you have C2, which is a comprehensive, this is the more comprehensive cost, and it takes into account rentals, interest foregone on owned land and fixed capital assets on top of A2 plus FL. So C2 will include A2 plus FL as well. So CSCP will consider both A2 and FL and C2 cost while recommending MSP. So for cost for return, they'll take into account A2 plus FL alone, but C2 costs are used by CSCP as benchmark reference cost. So that because in some cases they'll take C2 cost because this will serve as benchmark reference cost, because they want to ensure that MSP recommended by them at least covers these costs in some of the major producing states. So at least in some states it should cover, no. So C2 also they'll take as benchmark reference cost. So finally CSCP will recommend and the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs headed by the Prime Minister will take a final call on the MSP. So how much money should be given to farmers, and this is based on the recommendations of CACAP. So I hope in this article you understood all the important terms. So this is what this article is about. I hope you understood this. Now let us move on to the next article. This article is about destruction of a dam in Ukraine. Now let us see what are the politics behind it. So why is this in news? Because thousands of people are fleeing their homes after what happened. This Russian held dam in Ukraine, and somehow it got destructed. We are not sure who did it. We are not sure if it is Ukraine or Russia that did it, and the dam was destructed. And what happened? It flooded a lot of villages in Ukraine, and the water went to nearby cities and all, and this sparked fears of humanitarian disaster. So this is why it is in news. So what was breached? It is the Kakhovka Dam. So this Kakhovka Dam was breached, and Ukrainian police and Ukrainian army, what they did, they were bringing people out of the flooded areas. Inundated areas means flooded areas, in inflatable boats. And what these people did, they were mostly having only few documents and pets. What Ukrainians are telling, see, we are trying to evacuate, but Russian forces are shelling, that is, they are still shooting this residential area, so we are not able to help people and we are not able to evacuate them. So Ukraine and Russia both are blaming each other for destruction of the dam. But what Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, what is telling? Is telling, see, both are blaming each other. Let us leave this to an international probe. So let this international committee find out who did this. Next, what happened? This destruction also raised fears of an environmental disaster and nuclear safety risk, as it provides cooling water for the Europe's largest Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. So keep this in mind. So why environmental disaster fears were raised? Because this water only is used as cooling water for Zaporizhzhia. So the inundation, how was the inundation? It had waist deep water in central streets of Kherson, and even ground floors of buildings were submerged. So Russia and Ukraine continued pointing fingers at each other for dam's destruction. But what Russia is telling is there's a key pipeline that Russia uses to export ammonia. So Russia is telling Ukraine blew that key pipeline. So it's telling this pipeline is very important. It has to be reactivated. Then only we can do the grain deal talks. So what is the grain deal? So Ukraine and Russia only produce lot of wheat, and they use Black Sea to trade this to other part of the world. So there's something called as Black Sea Grain Initiative, where Russia and Ukraine sell their wheat. Mostly it is Ukraine. So if you want to start the grain deal talks, Russia is telling you will have to reactivate the pipeline that exports ammonia. So it's telling this pipeline was destructed by Ukraine, like that Russia is accusing of Ukraine. So what is the governor of Kherson region is telling? He's telling, so far we have evacuated 1700 people, and this ongoing shelling, because of the shelling, it is difficult for us to rescue locals. But what Mr. Putin is telling this is a barbaric act. He's telling this Kakhovka Dam, who destructed it? He's telling Ukraine only destructed it, and this is a barbaric act. And even China has expressed serious concern over the dam destruction, and European Union chief, he said this is a war crime, and NATO chief called this outrageous. And Russia is telling this dam was partially destroyed by multiple strikes from Ukrainian forces. So he's telling Russia is telling this dam was destructed by Ukrainian forces only, and he's telling if you want to condemn anybody, you condemn Kiev for its criminal acts, like that they are telling. But what the UN nuclear watchdog agency said, see the dam is destructed, but right now there is no short term risk to the plant. Dam is destructed, but for the nuclear plant there is no short term risk. So Ukraine's boundaries were only in the news. I mean, for prelims they asked Ukraine's boundary only. So this is the Kherson region, this is Crimea, this is the Black Sea. So you see what are the boundaries of Ukraine? Belarus, Russia, Poland, here you have Slovakia, here you have Hungary, Romania, and here you have Moldova. So these are the countries that have boundaries with Ukraine. This was asked in prelims this year, and the dam that we saw about, it is here in Kherson. So at least 1 or 2 questions you will have from map each year. So just try to memorize this map. Now Let us move on to the next article. This article is about Kerala fiber optic network and how it aims to bridge the digital divide in Kerala. What is digital divide? In urban areas, more people will use internet, and in rural areas, less people will use internet. More boys will use internet than girls. So this is called digital divide. And more rich people will use than poor people. So this is digital divide. So let us see this article in detail. So what happened in 2019? Left Democratic Front, that is the communist government in Kerala, announced that access to internet would be a basic right in the state, and it became the first state in the country to do so. This declaration came 3 years after the United Nations had passed the resolution saying internet access is a basic human right. So what did the communist government in Kerala do? It came up with a detailed plan, and it said this internet access will become a ground reality, and for that what they did, they set up the Kerala fiber optic network, and through this what they plan to do, they plan to give internet connections free of cost to 20 lakh BPL families. So free of cost internet connection to 20 lakh BPL families. Why they are doing this? They want to ensure that there is universal internet access, and they want to narrow the digital divide. So what is digital divide? I told you already. And this digital divide has become acute. Acute means it has increased after the COVID-19 outbreak. So how is the government running the network and providing services? We'll see how they are doing it. So what will the government, Kerala government, what is their role? They'll set up the vast infrastructure that is required for providing internet. So to remote corners and all, internet should go, no? So for that they'll have the infrastructure. So what is this network has reached even remote locations in the hills. So in the tribal hamlets of Wayanad, it is in Western Ghats, tribal hamlet. Even in those places, internet has not reached yet. So so the Kerala state government will create infrastructure so that even these places will have internet access. So how the cabling work is done? So it will be stretching close to 35,000 kilometer. How they will do? It is on the already existing infrastructure of the Kerala State Electricity Board. So this KFON Limited, no, it is already, in fact, it is a joint venture of the Kerala Electricity Board and Kerala State Information Technology Infrastructure Limited. So, and what happened in July 2022? Department of Telecommunication granted this KFON infrastructure provider license and also approved it as an internet service provider. So how will the plan be rolled out? So what they are going to do, internet connection to 14,000 BPL families and 100 each from the state's 140 assembly constituencies in the first phase. Then what will happen? Panchayats and the urban local bodies will choose the beneficiaries. Next what will happen? What happened is the selection was slow, and many local bodies did not and they even delayed the submission of beneficiaries. What has happened? As of now, internet connection has been provided to 7,000 BPL families across the state, and each household will get 1.5 GB data per day at 15 Mbps speed. So this is a good thing. In the second phase, what will happen? Internet services will be made available to the public at affordable rates. So free internet connections for BPL families and government institution is just one part of the 1,548 crore KFON project, and the rest of the network will be monetized. So for BPL families only it is free, for others they will have to pay money. So the state government in 2022, what it had done is it constituted a committee headed by chief secretary and told him to study how we can monetize this network. Like that, the chief secretary has done a study. So what is the road ahead? So the first phase of KFN has started a week after CM of Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan. He declared Kerala as India's first fully e-governed state. So what is fully e-governed state? That is their secretariat, district collectorates, commissionerates, directorate, everything has a e-office system. So close to 900 government services comprising all the services usually required by the public are now available through a single window portal. So you don't have to go to office, everything, you don't have to go to government offices, everything you can do from home itself, house itself. Next what they are doing, they have begun digital literacy campaign at grassroots level, so that elderly people, people who are not educated, they'll also know how to do basic internet access. And next, the authors of this article are very hopeful that if the KFON project achieves what it has envisaged, then it can bring changes at the ground level. So what change at the ground level with regards to access and opportunities. So this is what the Kerala fiber optic network is about. So this is a summary of it. We saw it already. It has become controversial because there are allegations of corruption and mismanagement, including the tender and all those things which goes along with these things. There are a lot of controversy. So what is the significance? It has the potential to improve access, close the digital divide, and turn Kerala into a gigabit economy. So gigabit economy, keep that in mind, and it will provide opportunities for grassroots people. So people in the rural areas, uneducated people, vulnerable people, they'll all get opportunities. So that is the significant aspect of it, significant aspect of this program. Let us now move on to the next article. This article is about how we can make cities low carbon cities. So what happened in 2020, cities dumped close to 29 trillion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So this shows how cities are very important, and to have a good environment we should make low carbon cities. So they are very crucial to mitigate the effects of climate change. So transitioning to low carbon or even net zero cities. What is net zero city? Net zero city means the amount of carbon that a city produces will be the amount of carbon that they get back should be equal. So that is net zero city. So this should happen at multiple sectors, and this is called sector coupling approach. So only if you do the sector coupling approach you can decarbonize urban systems. So why are energy system transitions important? So if the transition is from non-renewable to renewable, you can reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 74%. So next, what the author is telling, there are a lot of advancements in clean energy and related technology, and the prices of a lot of renewable energies have come down. So he's telling the economic and technology barriers to implement low carbon solutions have gone. So transition must happen both at demand and the supply side. So from the supply side, what you should do, you should phase out fossil fuels, increase the share of renewables in the energy mix. What are the renewables? Solar, wind energy, like that, and use carbon capture and storage technology. So what is carbon capture and storage technology? You capture the carbon that is in the environment and you send it under the land. So there are technologies like that. On the demand side, what do you do? So you avoid fossils, shift to renewables, and improve the renewable framework. So what we do, this would reduce the demand for fossil fuels and people will look for renewables more. Next, what you should do, implement carbon dioxide removal technology. So these are the next what the author is telling. So the technological and economic problems are not there, only social and political problems are there with regarding to transitioning. So what are the different strategies? So he's telling this is not very easy because it's not just about transitioning. There is energy justice and social equity to be dealt with. So whenever you do transitioning, social and environmental issues also we should look into. So we cannot follow one size fit all. Each city will have different land use pattern, level of development, and the state of urbanization. So the author is telling focus on energy efficiency and promote public as well active transport like bicycling and walking. So it's telling this walkable cities. If the cities are walk friendly, then you can reduce energy demand, and then you electrify public transport, and the district cooling and heating network should be based on renewable source. So next, what is telling you, housing and jobs. So place where you work and your residential area should be near, so you can reduce transport energy demand. So this is what the author is telling. Next is telling new and emerging cities have the most potential to reduce emissions. So because they can follow the building codes mandate net zero energy use, and using that they can reduce energy emissions. So how can energy transition be just? Just means justice. So energy transition is directly or indirectly linked to livelihoods, local economic development, and socio-economic well-being of the people. So it's telling don't follow one size fit all approach. So because transitioning can affect different people, communities in the developing economics and sector, because a lot of people in the developing or underdeveloped countries still depend on fossil fuels. So what is telling, we need to balance fast growing energy demand with the needs of energy security and exports. So it's telling so this transitioning, what will happen? Land disposition will happen, poverty will happen, marginalization of certain communities will happen, gendered impact means women will be developed, because there are a lot of people still relying on coal for livelihoods. So for example, if you take Nigeria, Angola, Venezuela, most of their GDP comes from fossil fuel exports. So suddenly if you transition from non-renewable to renewable, the workers employed in this industry will be hit. So similarly in developed countries, what will happen? Even though developed countries are there, most in these countries, poor people, most of their income is spent on energy, because they have high energy price. So what only should be done? So the author is telling you take into account national context, institutional capacity, and then you change. And he's telling you focus on governance, planning, and you achieve behavioral shifts at individual level and promote technology and innovation and build institutional capacity. So he's telling we should come up with a comprehensive approach to address the root cause of energy and environmental justice. So how do you do that? So he's telling we should focus on energy governance and decision making, promoting energy efficiency, scaling up climate investments, and capturing alternate knowledge streams. So if you do that, we can do climate justice. So disguised unemployment, what it means, this is there in the NCERT itself. This means marginal productivity of labor is 0. So you all know which of the following is kharif crop. You know wheat is a rabi crop, other 3 are kharif crops. So the answer is 1, 2 and 3. Climate is extreme, rainfall is scanty, and the people used to be nomadic herders. The answer is C, Central Asian steppe. Consider the following statement. Inflation benefits the debtors. Is that right? Inflation benefits the bondholders. No, that is wrong. So the answer is 1 only. So we have come to the end of the session. If you like subscribe the channel, share it among your friends, and please do comment. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Telegram and Facebook. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again tomorrow.